Now, that takes us on to the digital impact. And many people talk to me. They say, you're a futurist. Surely you believe in the paperless office. And I say, yes and no. Because life is quite complicated. You see, let's have a look at the realities of it. You know, The Economist recently suggested, they suggested that the only paper product in future that might survive some kind of technological attack would be Kleenex paper, the stuff you use to wipe your bottom in space or to blow your nose. And they suggested that everything else, well, you know, we find some digital replacement. I'm not so sure. I'm sure you'll be relieved that I say that. Because the future is not created by fantastical technological predictions. The future, my friends, is controlled by another word, which I'll come to. In fact, perhaps the most important word that will drive your future, perhaps. It's certainly one of the most important words. Let me tell you a story. I was in New York the other day, and I was staying in a hotel which had 4,322 stories and only one lift. And, you know, I arrived there, I was at the lift, and there was a crowd, it could have been you, and we were all standing there looking at our watches. I was late, I confess. I had 5 minutes to get down, connect the computer, get onto the stage. Not quite that bad. I was stressed. Now, at that moment, we were all standing there. The lift button is lit. I'm 4,000 stories up. I was tempted at that moment to do something totally crazy. I was actually tempted, for a moment, to press the lift button more than once. Now, confession time. Yes, let me ask you too. Put your hands up if you too, like me. I'm not saying you would do such a crazy thing, but from time to time you have been tempted in an irrational moment to actually touch that lift button again. Put your hands up if you've actually done that. Okay, you've actually done it. Yes, well, you see, like me. Now, we talked about astronauts just now. You see, I have one question I want to ask the astronauts. You see, I'm going to ask you. I was talking to 850 airline pilots. By the way, I mean, what was I doing? What was I thinking of when I pressed that lift button more than once? Can I control a lift more than Bill Gates himself? Of course not. I was totally irrational. But yet, I was talking to 850 airline pilots. I asked them this question. Put your hands up if you talk to the lift. Come on, baby. It's time to come. They all put their hands up. Let me ask you a question. I don't know what the answer will be, because astronauts are very strange people. But let me tell you, let me ask you a question. Do you remember at any time during your 14 days in space anyone talking to a piece of equipment?
Most likely, yes.
There we are. Crazy. No. Well, listen, I just want you to remember one thing. When we are under pressure, we can all behave totally irrationally. And my friends, if you look at the future of oil price right now, if you look at the subprime crisis, if you look at the reaction there was to the SARS outbreak, which only killed 862 people, you find irrational forces at work. And in the future of the paper and the pulp industry, even though there are big issues like demographics, energy costs and the rest, there are, I suggest, some very powerful irrational forces, emotional forces that will drive the future. And the future will be influenced by these emotions. And what are they? Well, just to say, that's why we need to be careful about market research. Market research will tell you the future for the next few days, but it doesn't always give you the right answer about the use of paper packaging for the next decade, or the use of books, or the readership of magazines. Why? Because emotions change faster than people think. And people have an emotional reaction to paper. That is one of the reasons why paper has survived in the paperless office. And I'll come back to that. You know, people have an emotional reaction to a piece of paper that they have written on. It becomes part of them in a different way than a piece of computer code on the screen. Yellow pages, yes, they're under pressure from Google Maps. Yes, direct mail is under pressure from email distribution and the rest. Yes, it's true that paper letters look like the last century. But there are surprises here. Look how well books are doing. I'm a great believer in books. I've written 12 of them. In fact, books have grown as a market by 2.5% in the US over the last few years, per year. Why? Well, one of the reasons is because people are emotionally connected with a book. They pick up a book, they hold it in their hands, they smell it, they write in it, it becomes part of them. They keep the book, they put it on the shelf. If you want to burn a book, if you want to make a headline in the national media, go to the market, to one of the markets where they sell vegetables in Stockholm with some books by a poet, a particular poet, or by a particular novelist, and go and burn them in a public place. I guarantee CNN will be there. Why? Because it is such an emotional thing. Tell me, would CNN be there if they burned some newspapers? No. Magazines by the same writer? No. Book? Yes. Because there is something almost spiritual about a book. Remember, emotion. And books, talking of books, even books are under pressures too. When the English editions of Harry Potter were brought out, there was a big campaign that they had saved nearly 200,000 trees because of the way that the books were made. But let me just come back to something to do with medicine. You see, there's something very important about paper. It's not just the emotional connection, it's a biological connection. Let me explain. Your eye can process 3,000 terabits of data every second. Your ears, only about 112,000 bits of data. If I speak faster than 100 words per minute, my words disappear into chaos. But you can read a newspaper at around 3,000 words or 10,000 words per minute. You don't read every word. You just stand and you turn the pages. And you know what is in it, you know what is not in it. You cannot possibly process that amount of data on a screen like this one, which is only 1,024 pixels that way by 768, or even on a high-resolution screen. There is not enough visual data coming into your brain from the screen. And that, my friends, is why reading a newspaper online is such a crazy waste of time. And you know, my friends, if you have a huge report sent by email, there is only one sensible way to read it from the point of view of your time and energy, which is, sadly, for the environment, good for you, which is to print it all out and scan it, skim it through, and bin it back again. Now, it may not be very sound from the environmental point of view, but from your brain point of view, it's the quickest way to get that data in. And that, my friends, is the reason why color brochures, direct mails, will win, continue to win when they're well done. It's the reason why a book is such a pleasure to hold. It's the reason why, for serious readers like me, who have to read the equivalent of 3 books every morning of national papers, I have to read it every day to keep abreast of the future. For me, I have to do it on paper. If they stop printing newspapers, I will have to print them at home, and I will print them on the largest sheets I can find, because my time really, really matters.